Hi guys, it's Just an Honest Fiction and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be sharing my favorite Mafia romance recommendations. Alright guys, so I have 6 books on this list that all feature Mafia romance. Now, similar to all my other recommendation videos, I will do a spoiler-free synopsis of each book along with my overall thoughts. Now, if you're unfamiliar with my channel, I post new videos every Thursday and Sunday. If you haven't yet, please like and subscribe. You can also hit that notification bell to be notified whenever I post new bookish content. You can also check out my Instagram and Goodreads, both linked down below. With all that out of the way, let's talk about these Mafia romance recs. Alright, so starting off with a pretty popular Mafia romance series, it is Brutal Birthright by Sophie Lark. So Sophie Lark has the Brutal Birthright series, then she also has the Kingmaker series, which follows the children from the couples in Brutal Birthright. Now, I did not finish the Kingmaker series, I did finish this series, and I loved it. So this first book is following Callum and Ada. Ada is the daughter of the head of the Italian Mafia, while Callum is the eldest son of the head of the Irish Mafia. Now, Ada ends up accidentally setting Callum's house on fire, and to stop a war from breaking out, they decide that they're gonna have to get married. So on Callum and Ada's wedding day, Ada ends up finding out what Callum's allergic to and tries to kill him. So this is very enemies to lovers, but it is so much fun. I love the way Sophie Lark writes her spicy scenes. I think she does such a good job, and I really loved these two together, and just watching them slowly fall in love was a really good time. Now, the second book, Stolen Heir, I believe is the name of it. That is my absolute favorite. That is a Beauty and the Beast retelling, and that's following the Russian mob. So good. Definitely check that one out. But overall, this series is absolutely amazing, so I highly recommend both the Brutal Birthright series and also the Kingmaker series by Sophie Lark. Alright, and next up we have the Sweetest Oblivion by Danielle. So this is also the first book in a Mafia romance series. This series overall is a lot darker and grittier than Sophie Lark's Brutal Birthright series. I actually prefer this series a little bit. So this first book is following our main character Nicholas, who ends up, he's a made man, and he wants to marry one of the daughters of the head of the Italian Mafia. Now, he is supposed to marry the younger daughter. However, when he sees the elder daughter, Elena, the sweet Abelli, he immediately wants to marry her. Now, Elena wants nothing to do with her younger sister's fiance, and it's really their story. I loved this. I loved the spice in this, and the tension between the two main characters was just so much fun. Now, I will say this is actually my least favorite in the entire series. The second book, The Maddest Obsession, has my favorite couple. It is so good. And then the third book, The Darkest Temptation, definitely the darkest. Check trigger warnings. Similar to the Brutal Birthright, it's also a Beauty and the Beast retelling slightly. I really enjoy the captor-captive trope, and that's what that book is. So that is my favorite. Once again, really dark. Check trigger warnings, but it is really good. So I highly recommend the series as a whole. It is one of my favorite Mafia romances. And next up, we have Promises and Pomagranates by Sav R. Miller. So this is a very, very loose Hades and Persephone retelling. I wouldn't even call it that, but it is a very good Mafia romance story. So it is following Elena, who is the daughter of someone in the Italian Mafia, and she has had a bodyguard, Cal, who is a complete psychopath, also a doctor, and the Italian Mafia kind of uses him as like a hitman. So he has been her bodyguard for a while, and they end up sleeping together. Now, some time goes by, and Elena is supposed to marry another man. Now, Cal is not okay with that. So he ends up killing her fiance and stealing her and taking her to his deserted Hades-type island. And the story goes from there, but I loved Cal. I just love a psychotic, crazy killer that will do anything for his woman. It was really good. So I ended up really enjoying this, mostly just because of Cal, but overall a very fun read and a very unique story. And next up, I read When Heroes Fall and When Villains Rise by Gianna Darling. So I actually read this duet after finishing the Fallen Men series by Gianna Darling, and I just couldn't get enough of her writing. I'm so happy I did. It is one of my favorite Mafia romances. Now, we are following Elena, and she has had some entanglements in her past with the Mafia, so she wants nothing to do with them. Unfortunately, her younger sister calls her one day and asks if she will represent one of the heads of the Boston Mafia. And right away, they end up forming this relationship. As much as Elena tries to stay away from Dante, she just can't stop herself. Now, this is grumpy sunshine, which is not normally one of my favorite tropes. However, when the Mafia boss is the sunshine and our main character is the grump, it's actually really fun. And most of the time when I'm following Mafia romance, I really prefer the love interest over the main character. However, with this, I loved seeing Elena just grow and become a complete badass by the end of the second book. So much fun. So I highly recommend, if you have not read this duet yet, check it out. It is one of my absolute favorites. All right, and this next book I actually finished the same day I'm filming this, and it is Mafia Mistress. So this is following Francesca, and she's the eldest daughter of someone in the Canadian Mafia. Now, she really just wants to get out of the mob life. She wants to go to college and just live a life free of the Mafia. Unfortunately, Fausto, who is the head of the Italian Mafia, has other plans, so he goes to her house, kidnaps her, takes her back to Italy so she will marry his son. Now, Francesca and the son end up not getting married, and instead, Fausto and Francesca have a relationship, and she becomes his mistress. And it goes from there. This was so much fun. Do yourself a favor, listen to it via audio. The male narrator did a phenomenal job with Fausto. He was so good. My only issue with this book was pacing a little bit, so I feel like there was a lot of action and build up in the beginning. Then there's a little bit of a lull when they're like in their relationship, and then the action kind of starts back up towards the end. Now, I also almost DNF'd this. I was not a huge fan of Francesca as a character in the beginning, but she does change a lot as the story progresses, and I cannot wait to read the sequel, which is Mafia Darling. I'm really hoping they have it on audio. If they don't, I might actually wait until the audio comes out, but overall, this was a really fun read. And last up is another recent read, and that is Violent Delights by Jessica Hawkins. So this is actually the first book in the White Monarch series, and I was not planning on binging this entire series in a weekend, but I absolutely loved it. So this is actually following the Spanish cartel. So we're following Natalia, who, when she's actually the daughter of someone very high up in the Spanish cartel, and when she's very young, she finds her mother's dead body. And she immediately believes she knows who the murderer is, and that is Cristiano. So Cristiano is actually the elder brother of her best friend, Diego. So after Natalia accuses Cristiano of the murder, he ends up fleeing. So Natalia and Diego grow up together. They have this very close bond, and it turns into this romantic attachment. That is until Cristiano shows back up and says that he did not kill the mother and he knows who did. So I loved this. This was so different than what I was expecting. It almost reminds me of like ACOTAR, but make it Spanish cartel. There are a lot of little similarities. Not a lot, but there are a few. But overall, this was really fun. There is a bit of a love triangle, and there is a lot of drama, but also there's a lot of action towards the end in the last book. And I really loved Natalia, and I loved the love interest in this. He is everything. So highly recommend picking this up. I don't see a lot of people talking about it, but it is a very, very bingeable and enjoyable read. All right, guys, those are all my favorite Mafia Romance recommendations. Please let me know down in the comments below what your favorite Mafia Romance is. And I said this already, I post new videos every Thursday and Sunday. And if you haven't yet, please like and subscribe. I will see you all next week.